Have you ever wondered how you would cope if you lost your spouse? Life is unpredictable, and the sudden loss of a life partner can leave you feeling lost, empty, and unsure of how to move forward. The home that was once filled with laughter now feels quiet. The days seem longer, and even the simplest routines serve as painful reminders of what is missing. But what if loss wasn't just an ending, but the beginning of something new? What if, instead of merely surviving, you could find strength, purpose, and even happiness again? Though the pain may never fully disappear, life still holds beauty, joy, and moments worth embracing. In today's video, we will explore the powerful journeys of three individuals who have faced this heartbreaking reality. They have known sorrow, yet they have also found resilience. They have experienced loneliness, yet they have chosen to rebuild. Through their stories, we will uncover the lessons that can help anyone facing this journey, proving that even after loss, there is still hope, independence, and a future worth living for. If you find these stories meaningful, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Story. Together, we can share these valuable lessons and bring comfort to those who need it most. Life after loss may seem impossible, but as we'll see in our first story, even in the deepest sorrow, there is a path forward. Let's begin with Mary's journey, her story of grief, resilience, and rediscovering the beauty of life. Story 1. Learning to live again after loss. For Mary, life had always been beautifully predictable. For 40 years, she and her husband, Thomas, built a life filled with love, routine, and shared dreams. Every morning, they had coffee together by the kitchen window, watching the world slowly wake up. Every evening, they took a gentle stroll around the neighborhood, hand in hand, as if time itself had no power over them. But one day, in the blink of an eye, everything changed. Thomas suffered a sudden stroke and passed away, leaving Mary in a silence that felt deafening. The house, once warm and full of life, became an unbearable reminder of what she had lost. She stopped answering phone calls, declined invitations from friends, and spent her days lost in old photo albums. The world continued to move forward, but Mary remained frozen in time. One afternoon, as she was sorting through Thomas's belongings, she found a letter tucked inside one of his favorite books. With trembling hands, she unfolded the paper and read his familiar handwriting. "My love, if you're reading this, it means I'm no longer by your side. But please, don't let sadness consume you. Live, laugh, travel, make new memories. Love life the way we always did. That would make me happiest." Tears streamed down Mary's face, but for the first time in months, they weren't just tears of sorrow. They were tears of realization. Thomas hadn't just left her. He had left her with a purpose. That day, Mary made a decision. She started small, sitting outside in the sun, calling an old friend, visiting the community center. Over time, she joined a book club, took up gardening, and even started volunteering at a local charity. Little by little, she rediscovered joy, not by forgetting Thomas, but by honoring his wish for her to keep living. Grief never truly disappears, but we have a choice. We can remain stuck in the past, or we can step forward, carrying the love and memories with us. Mary chose the latter. If you have lost someone dear to you, remember, life still holds beauty. Find a purpose, connect with others, and take each day one step at a time. Because moving forward isn't about letting go. It's about carrying love with you in a new way. Moving forward after loss is one challenge. Learning to live independently is another. This brings us to Eleanor's story, a journey of rediscovering self-worth and freedom. Story 2. Happiness doesn't come from dependence. When Eleanor lost her husband, she also lost the sense of security that had anchored her for decades. The house they had built together suddenly felt too big, too empty, and filled with a silence that weighed heavily on her heart. Not wanting to be alone, she accepted her son's invitation to move in with his family, believing it would bring comfort and companionship in her later years. First, everything seemed fine. Her grandson's laughter filled the house, and she enjoyed preparing meals for the family, feeling like she still had a purpose. But as time passed, subtle changes began to surface. Her son and daughter-in-law were often busy with their own lives, leaving her alone for long hours. Conversations at the dinner table became shorter, and she started noticing how they hesitated before making weekend plans, unsure whether to include her. Then, one evening, as she walked past the kitchen, she overheard a conversation she was never meant to hear. Her daughter-in-law sighed and said, "I feel guilty saying this, but sometimes it's hard having her here all the time. She doesn't have much of a life outside, and it puts pressure on us." Eleanor stood frozen, her heart sinking. She had never considered that her presence could be seen as a burden. That night, she lay awake, replaying those words over and over. The realization was painful but clear. Her happiness couldn't come from depending on her children. She needed to reclaim her independence. The next morning, she made a decision. Instead of waiting for happiness to find her, she would create it herself. She reached out to an old friend and joined a local senior group. She signed up for a painting class, something she had always wanted to do but never had the time for. Slowly, her life began to change. Not because she moved away, but because she started living for herself again. Eleanor eventually moved into a small, cozy apartment of her own, close enough to visit family but far enough to have her own space. And for the first time in years, she felt truly free. Independence isn't about being alone. It's about having the freedom to shape your own life. If you're a senior, don't be afraid to build a life outside of your children's. Join a community, pursue a passion, and remember, you are still the author of your own story. In the search for companionship, it's easy to mistake loneliness for love. But true fulfillment comes not just from finding someone, but from finding the right person. Let's explore this further in our next story. Story 3. When love comes again, proceed with caution. Richard had always believed that love was meant to last a lifetime. For 35 years, he and his wife built a home filled with laughter, shared dreams, and quiet companionship. But when she passed away, everything changed. The house felt colder, the days stretched longer, and the silence became his only company. At 63, loneliness weighed heavily on him. He missed the simple moments, someone to talk to over morning coffee, a presence beside him during evening walks, the comfort of knowing he wasn't alone. That was when he reconnected with Linda, an old acquaintance who had also lost her spouse. Their conversations flowed effortlessly, and in her, Richard saw a chance to reclaim the warmth he had lost. Encouraged by the idea of companionship, he proposed, and within a year, they were married. First, life felt full again. They traveled, cooked meals together, and shared their evenings in quiet contentment. But soon cracks began to show. Richard was used to a simple, frugal lifestyle, while Linda enjoyed spending lavishly. He valued routine while she thrived on spontaneity. But the biggest challenge came from Linda's adult children. They were polite but distant, never fully accepting him as part of their family. Holidays felt strained, with Richard often feeling like an outsider in his own home. One evening, after a tense argument about finances and family responsibilities, Richard sat alone, reflecting. Had he truly found happiness, or had he simply been running from loneliness? The realization hit him hard. He had rushed into marriage, believing that having a partner was the only way to feel complete again. But love, at this stage in life, required more than shared loss. It required deep compatibility, mutual understanding, and acceptance from both families. Eventually, Richard and Linda agreed to part ways amicably. There was no bitterness, only the understanding that companionship alone wasn't enough. Richard learned that being alone did not mean being lonely. It meant having the freedom to build a life on his own terms. Before remarrying, take the time to reflect. Are you seeking true partnership, or are you simply filling a void? Consider finances, family dynamics, and emotional compatibility. Because love after loss is possible, but only if it is built on the right foundation. Life is a journey filled with both love and loss, but what truly defines us is how we move forward. Through these three powerful stories, we have seen the resilience of the human spirit and the lessons that come with experience. Mary taught us that grief, no matter how deep, should not keep us from living. She found healing not by forgetting, but by embracing the memories and continuing to create new ones. Pain may linger, but life still holds beauty, and the best way to honor those we have lost is to live fully. Eleanor showed us that happiness doesn't come from dependence. While love from family is important, true fulfillment comes from within. She discovered that independence is not about isolation. It's about reclaiming control, making choices for yourself, and finding joy in personal growth. Richard's journey reminded us that companionship, though valuable, should never be rushed. The desire to fill an emotional void can lead us into situations that may not truly serve us. He learned that before entering a new relationship, one must consider emotional compatibility, financial stability, and family dynamics. Love after loss is possible, but only when built on a strong foundation. Each of these stories carries a universal message. Life does not end with loss. It transforms. We may not have control over what we lose, but we do have control over how we rebuild. Whether it's through healing, embracing independence, or making thoughtful choices, we all have the power to create a meaningful life, no matter our age. If you found these stories inspiring, don't forget to like and subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Story. Let's continue sharing these powerful lessons so that more people can find hope and strength in their own journeys. And now, we'd love to hear from you. What is the greatest lesson you've learned from an elder in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below.